Alright, I'm going to take a second to look at the updated, what I call trap mites. Wazzah calls them D, which is, a name, I guess. So, I'm going to go in here because they just died, and that's fine. So, there's a baby, little guy, and here's an adult. They definitely, so far, seem to prioritize. I thought they would prioritize meat. This one is going for the plant instead. I'm not sure what the story is there. Why? I think maybe it's because it was right in the middle of all the meats. Fascinating concept. So let's take a look at these guys. What they do typically is they'll go find food and they'll spin back and forth waiting for something to come around. I've watched these guys kill a whale in passing, right? It was a good time. So that seems to be largely their priority. That was a really long stutter. That's fine. So there's a lot going on with the accelerate function here. If we grab this ReLU over here, there are 5 inputs to it: constant, energy ratio, maturity, and hunger, right? Their fullness level. The only one that's positive throughout this ReLU is the constant. So as the rest of them get so energy ratio, the higher it is, the less it moves. The more mature it is, the less it moves. The more full it is, the less it moves. There's a lot of things telling this guy not to go anywhere. And I haven't truly broken down. I'm gonna set up a spawner for these guys because they're not surviving. We're gonna do 10 of these. I'm not worried about the progs going extinct because they're not actually stable in this environment. It's basically just the whales right now. There they are. Okay, so let's take a look at the second acceleration function. It's this multiplier here, which is all green. So this is the one that turns the move on, right? And it is the number of Bibites. See, it saw the Bibit briefly and it's like, I'm going to get that. And then it didn't. Then there's this ReLU here, which is a negative constant. Oh my god. I gotta find it again. There it is. So this ReLU has a negative constant, a Gaussian, and Bibit angle. So I'm going to assume that this kind of gives it a search. It's not a search pattern. It slows the Bibit down while figuring out where 0 is, and then goes forward very rapidly. The rest of it is we have a latch here, which is again fullness, and this other latch multiplier, which comes from Bibit angle and also feeds rotation, as well as speed itself. So the faster it's going, the more likely it is to continue going. Let's see. We also have this linear and this differential. I don't have any idea what the idea for this. This Bibit seems to be almost entirely engineered based on the numbers that I'm seeing. I'm not sure if this is evolved at all, which means that Wazzah has a very specific plan for all of these things. I'm not going to try to parse out exactly what that plan is. They have taken oh no, I set them to 30. They're doing exactly what they were supposed to do. Something about green. Wow, how far down? I think, oh, there it goes again. Okay, so it's got a lot of things feeding into accelerate and rotate. That's the important part. Want to lay speed. The faster it's going, the more it wants to lay eggs. Interesting. So if it's not moving, does it not want to lay eggs? Let's find one that's static. That one's static. Yep, doesn't want to lay. So that actually makes sense because if it's laying eggs, when it's just sitting here, it's got an aggressive Bibit that comes out its back end, right? It's very simple code, very easy to understand why it exists. So want to eat seems to have a lot of attachments here. Constant, this latch, which goes to meat. It wants to eat the meat. Go figure. and then empty fullness. There's not really much that turns off the desire to eat. So it just seems to me like there's not really much reason for this. And then grabbing is just only when it's moving, which makes sense. Waz doesn't seem to want these guys to grab actual pellets, right? Only Bibites. So let's see if we can give this guy a Bibit to grab onto. I'm gonna feed him something else. Let's give him a carrot shark. Is he gonna catch it? It's not even gonna see it. Interesting. It's not the maybe it's because it doesn't have other things to eat at the moment. I wonder why it's ignoring entirely. Okay, well, let's try this. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to place a plant pellet. I'm going to make it a little smaller than that because it does not have to be that big. Okay. Close that. And now. So it's interested in this, but it's not going to leave the pellet to get it. I wonder. Interesting. So if this guy takes the pellet, then he'll grab it? I'm not sure how to trigger that behavior. Huh. But let's see. Want to grow is energy fullness. So it's fairly simple. Only wants to grow if it has food in its belly. How do I trigger it? Now I want to know. Alright. We're gonna... So this one has a guy coming by. Maybe that'll happen. I'm gonna make this whale look at that pellet and see if... No, it just eats the trap instead. Their hunting seems a little off. I've seen them catch a whale. I'm not sure how to make it happen again. They mostly just seem to be feeding themselves to whatever's around. So we did see the want to eat turn off, and it broke the thing into little chunks. Maybe that's the goal. Maybe Waz actually wants to break things into chunks. The question is, can we figure out what Waz wants to break into chunks? Just a negative constant. Nope, I don't know. Oh, that was some interesting behavior there. It almost went for the whale. I think it has to be around food for sure in order to want to actually catch something. It's a mysterious little critter, and I actually think so far that the original worked a little better, but I don't have any scientific notes to verify that information. Oh, pretty much broken down the brain. What else is there to look at here? So when these guys do get food, let's see how fast it grows. 142. So it doesn't have a very high growth scale or growth maturity factor, right? These things aren't going to get very large. That's actually a really high number. This thing grows slow. I'm going to compare that to the whales. Of course it dies immediately as soon as I grab it. These are all both under 1 right here. And his is 2.78 and 10. These things grow very slowly. I'll show you a prog real quick. This one's got a 0.29. I thought I had actually lowered that to 0.2. But yeah, up to 9.8 per second. Let's see. I don't think in this particular soup we're going to get a lot more action going on here. Since there is more here, I'm going to see if more pellets means more grabby grabby. But as it is, I don't think these guys are going to even start to reproduce. Yeah, because they'll, well, if I let it go, it clearly it seems to do something. I think these guys are just a little too fast for him, maybe? I don't know. Huh. 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 Well, that's enough for now.